Happy Wednesday and welcome back to the Lorden Arts channel. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here today as we talk about two very big case updates. One of these reaching all the way back to the first year of Brain Scratch, and that is the case of Brandon Lawson. Now, if you're not an old school fan, you might not know this, but when we first started, we would use Brain Scratch for missing persons cases as well. It was really because of Brandon's case that we split off and started Searchlight. We started a show focused strictly on missing persons cases. And it was in big part because of the response that came not just from you guys, but really from Brandon's family. It was the first time that I had been contacted by a family after putting out a piece like that. And I was really nervous to speak to them. But ultimately, it gave me the biggest pay day that I could ever get doing this type of job. And that was hearing his common law wife, Ledessa, talk about how much it meant to her that someone cared, that someone put all that work together and put that episode out. Hearing his children playing in the background, speaking to his father, speaking to other family members, everyone just happy to be recognized, happy that they felt like they weren't left alone anymore. And you guys played a huge part of that. We did two videos, one where it was just my coverage, but then after I spoke to the family, I was like, well, I got to get this new information that they had out. Between those two videos, over 200,000 of you learned about Brandon Lawson's story. And I can't thank you guys enough. We have come to the point that his family has been waiting for years. It looks like Brandon's remains have been found. This is a photo just of CrimeCon last year. Myself and Christy Arnhart with Ledessa on the left. That was Brandon Lawson's common law wife. Some people might consider her long-term girlfriend. And on the right side, that's Brandon's dad, Brad, with us. But in the middle, pretty special guy, a guy that I have gotten to know and I would certainly call a friend over the past several years. That's Jason Watts. And what we can see in this photo is Jason finding Brandon and the emotional impact that had on him in that moment. And not just in that moment. I can tell you when Jason reached out to me to let me know that it had happened, I could still hear it in his voice. When I talked to him a few weeks later, I could still hear it in his voice. This is a guy that was so passionate about finding Brandon and extremely certain that he was going to. And thankfully, due to that unending effort, like this has been going on, guys, for years. There have been searches on and on and on and on and new hurdles. And I got to tell you something. There's going to be a time where we're going to be able to have a conversation with him on the channel. And I am so looking forward to it because there are many important lessons from this discovery that we need to share with other people that are in similar situations. One of those lessons, the remains that have been found, it's several pieces of Brandon's clothing and then some bone fragments as well. They're not that far from where his vehicle was. So it's just one of those things you'd think, well, wasn't this searched already? There's a lot of different considerations there. It was on private property. As a matter of fact, one of the things I want to get out right at the kind of top of this conversation, Jason reached out to me. He said, because there's a lot of online kind of debate going on. Look, emotions are obviously running high right now with this discovery, but people are like, well, why couldn't they have checked this property before? These landowners must be terrible people. Jason sent a very specific statement to address that. They don't live on the property. The people that own this property do not live on it. They do not go to it that often. They weren't even aware of Brandon's case until I made contact with them. These are Jason's words. They were nothing but open and kind to us and immediately gave us permission to search it. So as a little favor to Jason, he wanted me to get that out there because there's a lot of people assuming, oh, these landowners were terrible, they wouldn't let them search on the property. That's not the case. There was areas that were identified. He reached out to them and they were able to do that. And keep in mind, there's other things we've already learned from this, like them having contracts that they could give the landowners where they would have the volunteers sign and say, hey, if I get hurt on your property, I'm not going to sue you. There's all kinds of different things that were considerations around this. But just to kind of get that out there, it wasn't that type of situation. When they identified where they should be going back to, when they asked for permission to go out there with a volunteer search team, the landowners were right there to do it. So we have a couple of comments here on Facebook I want to share. First from Brad Lawson, that's Brandon's father. Facebook family and friends, it's with a heavy heart I bring you this news update about our son, Brandon Lawson. On Saturday, January 15th, a search team went to Bront, Texas, led by Jason Watts, to search another piece of property which Jason had gotten permission to enter. There, the discovery was made of a Nike Air Max tennis shoe. Another 50 to 75 feet ahead was another Nike Air Max tennis shoe embedded in the dirt. Then another article was found, MMA camouflage shorts. These are an exact description of the clothing that Brandon was wearing when he went missing. So they knew when they found these three items, they knew that they had found Brandon. Now, from what I understand, on top of the clothing, there were initially some bone fragments that were around that area. They weren't sure if that was Brandon or not. Of course, law enforcement waved off the search team, said we got to get back out there and process this area, and more bone has been found, and they're pretty certain that it's Brandon. It hasn't been DNA tested, so we've got a little bit of a question mark there. But we know the clothing, and we know that they've found some form of human remains at this point. Back to the comment. Now that we have this new evidence in the case for Brandon missing has been reopened and is now listed as a cold case homicide. Now, before we go rolling down that hill too fast, not in the belief that Brandon was murdered, but so they could get a larger group of persons to search for his possible remains. So it sounds like that's why that classification happened there. Another interesting aspect to this story is there was a podcast team that was out there. Cults, Crime, and Cabernet were part of the search team. Just another great example of social media rallying around this family and their efforts and trying to help with the discovery. And from what I understand, I mean, they were boots on the ground. They were there to literally help with this discovery. My hat is off to Cults, Crime, and Cabernet. And as a matter of fact, they reached out to me just a few months ago. You might be seeing them help a case that we've covered on the channel previously here as well. I will keep you guys up to date on that. But let's get to the next comment. This one from Jason Watts himself on February 6th. As some of you know, for the past few years, I've been an advocate for the missing persons case of Brandon Lawson. I have been tireless in my pursuit to help this family find him. 3 weeks ago, I led a search team down to the area where he went missing. My team and I found evidence, and a subsequent search by the Texas Rangers discovered what is believed to be Brandon himself. DNA tests pending. My heart and mind are full of many emotions, but the most important thing is that his family can now bring him home. LaDessa Hendricks, Bradley Lawson, Kimberly Lawson, Brittany Lawson, Kyle Lawson. It has been an honor and privilege to help you in your courageous journey to find Brandon and bring him home. To Private Investigator L.M. Berry, you have been my friend and my mentor, and I wouldn't have been able to do this without you. To my search team, Dylan McConigal, Ryan Lawhan, Whitney Diane, Melissa Leanne, Chris Lee, Amber, Josh, Paul, and John. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to have been there with me that day. To all the podcasters that helped me spread the word on Brandon, thank you for giving me a platform and Brandon a voice. To all the other great people that helped me and Brandon's family over the past 8 years, the words thank you will never come close. Thank you, I love you, and together we helped find Brandon Lawson. The good Lord hears and answers all prayers. God bless Brandon Lawson. I consider it an honor to be part of the team here. And one of the highlights for me last year was helping to arrange for Brandon's family and Jason to come to CrimeCon. We helped them get a booth set up there. Big thank you to Misty Kate, friend of the channel, that helped us design an amazing poster for the Lawson family to have at their booth. Very, very proud of all that. And I couldn't be more proud of Jason, his tenacity. I knew from the first time I met this guy, he wasn't going to ever give up. He wasn't going to let it go, and he didn't. And there was something really special. I remember one of our earlier conversations on the phone where he was really, the energy of how he was going about this, he wanted to bring the teams together. Like, yeah, you have rough feelings between family and law enforcement. And we had a lot of people, including myself, I think if you look back at my original video, somewhat critical of what's going on with law enforcement in that area. He wanted to put all that to the side and really focus on these searches, getting resources out there, getting access to the places that they couldn't get before. I think that shift in focus was a big contributing factor to this, just having that energy of, we're not here to blame people. We're here to figure out what the next step is, and we're going to keep taking those next steps. And then here we are down the line, and it's finally solved. It's pretty amazing. Over at Help Find Brandon Lawson, a post from Ladessa. To all the members of the Help Find Brandon Lawson page, first and foremost, I want to tell each one of you that I appreciate all of your support, kind words, prayers, assistance, concern, and love that have been given to me and my family over the course of the last 8.5 years. Being Brandon's partner in life and knowing him, I know that he would feel hallowed knowing that so many people took the time to share his story. It's deeply appreciated and has helped our family in so many ways find comfort. Answers are something that we have searched for. And today, I'm sharing with you that we now have some of those answers. Although DNA tests are needed to confirm identification, in our hearts, we know that it is Brandon. Our main focus throughout this entire ordeal has been to bring Brandon home so that he can finally rest in peace and our family can have the answers we have prayed for. I know that many of you will have questions, but at this time, we do not have those answers. We will keep everyone notified of all new developments. I ask that you please respect our family's privacy at this time while we wait for results. Brandon's parents, his children, his siblings, his family, and I thank you for your unwavering support over the years in helping to find Brandon. I, on behalf of our family, want to also express to Jason Watts, Dylan, Ryan, Paul, Chris, Melissa, Whitney, Josh, Amber, John, the private investigators, and all supporters that we appreciate all your dedication and tenacity throughout this entire journey. Lastly, Brandon will forever remain in the hearts of all who loved him. We are extremely grateful that we can lay him to rest and our family can have peace knowing he is home. Our love for Brandon will get us through what is yet to come. All our love, Ladessa and family. So I do believe at some point when they're ready, I think we will certainly have Jason here on the channel so we can get just any nugget of information that can help another case like this. I mean, look at the cases that we've talked about here on the channel. How many are this situation? Vehicle left behind, person goes missing. We're talking Maura Murray. We're talking Jason Landry. The list goes on and on. If there's some piece of information that can help those cases, we want to get to it. So, of course, we're letting everyone process. We're letting everyone kind of breathe and just take in what's happened at this point. But when they're ready to talk, they always have an invite here to the channel, and we're going to share that with you guys. So hopefully we can help some other families in a similar situation. Speaking of helping families, I had a really interesting phone call yesterday from the father of T.S. Thrasher, and this gets us to our next update. You might remember we covered this case in August of last year, a case from 2014 where a man was shot in his home. Sounds like he was sleeping on the couch in the living room. According to information that we got from his family, might have been killed with his own gun, and possibly that gun has disappeared. Now, it seemed like early on in that coverage, some eyes were looking towards his wife as potentially being a suspect. Since I did that video, his father reached out. I've had several phone calls with the man. You might remember we did an update episode in November. He wanted to thank you guys, the Brain Scratch community, because he was convinced that all of a sudden 10,000 people that didn't know about this case and were asking about it and starting to look into it. He thought maybe that was going to help put a little pressure on the investigation, maybe help move things forward. Well, he left me a message yesterday, and this is what he said.
John, Steve Thrasher, they got her. They charged her this morning with first-degree murder. Thank you, John. You know you were a big help. Thank you, John.
That was a call I was not expecting to get. I mean, we're talking about a case from 2014. Difficult scene. How are you going to use DNA in a case where she lives in the house? Her DNA is everywhere. Sounds like the murder weapon is missing. Very, very tricky and tough case. So what has changed exactly? What was the catalyst to this? All I can say is back when we did the coverage, right before that, they had issued a new $10,000 reward. I'm wondering if something came in based off that reward. Maybe a tip was called in or something around that. But let's go ahead and take a look at some articles together and see what else we can learn about this latest update. Over at einnews.com from February 7th, 2022, more than 7 years of casework by special agents with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has resulted in the indictment and arrest of a Harriman woman in connection to a 2014 homicide. Definitely. Hats off. 7 years of casework. And we had a certain DA that kept popping up in the articles about it, and he was using some pretty strong words throughout this whole 7 years that something was going to happen. An arrest would come, that they were just one piece of information away. That last update we did in November, that's exactly what he was saying at that point. It looks like he wasn't lying, because here we are. Over at wyshradio.com, during the course of the investigation, investigators identified Thrasher's wife, the now 35-year-old Samantha Ann Henley, as a person of interest. Last week, the Anderson County grand jury indicted Henley on one count of first-degree murder. And Monday, she was arrested by TBI agents at her home and taken to the Anderson County Jail. As of this morning, February 8th, she remained in custody on a $1 million bond. Thrasher left behind 2 children the couple shared. One of them was his biological, but he considered both his children. And if there's anything that this is already obviously a really tough situation, thinking about what these kids are going through now, also very, very tough. I really wish people would just give consideration to these types of things. The ripple effect of a terrible event like this can go on for years and just break the hearts of so many people. Over at lawandcrime.com, last summer, Clark, and this is the DA that I was talking about, the Anderson County District Attorney General, Dave Clark, he made an impassioned plea to the public for anyone with information to come forward. And despite keeping mum, some details of the law enforcement effort slowly trickled out. Somebody knows what happened, Clark said in comments reported by NBC affiliate WBIR. There may be multiple people, and they're out there, and likely they have told other people. The DA, after getting approval from the governor, offered a $10,000 reward for information on the long, mysterious killing. We need a break to bring this matter to a conclusion, the DA added. And that's why I'm thinking at this point, something had to come in. And if it was, I hope they're paying out that $10,000 reward. And because is this worth it to his father, to Stephen, to that man that I talked to on the phone yesterday? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know this is challenging times from here on forward. We were sure to talk about that as well. But at least he can see the top of the mountain now. He might still have some more work to do. But he's on the path, and it's not just an indefinite, who knows how long this is going to go on. And I know that he appreciates that. Here's a quote from him over at WBIR.com. I've been waiting 7 years for this day. My son told me months before this happened, he said, you know, Dad, if anything happens to me, Samantha did it. When he got the news of the arrest, he said It felt in a way as if his own prison sentence was over. I kind of felt like I was the one in jail because I was having to live this every minute and every day, and the frustration, the anger, just all these emotions that you feel, Steve Thrasher said. Through this long journey and his moments with his faith, he said he's found forgiveness, but still wants justice for his son's death. Quote, "They could go for the death penalty, and I don't want that at all. I don't want that at all. What I would really like is for her to think about this for the rest of her life," Steve said. WBIR also reached out to her mother, Sandra, who said she has no comment following her daughter's arrest. So that's the latest on it, but obviously this is not done. Obviously, Stephen is going to need more support, and Stephen, anytime you need it, you know that I'm here. There's a chance he's going to have to sit in a courtroom, and he's going to have to hear details about this case, essentially living out one of the most terrible things to happen in his life with a new level of detail and almost in slow motion as this plays out in a courtroom. It's not going to be easy, but I'm hoping that it's going to be worth it. And if she is guilty, I'm hoping that they do get a conviction and justice can be served in this case. And Stephen can let TS know that they did it. They finally did it. He said it 3 or 4 times, so I'm just going to remind you guys one more time. He appreciates each and every one of you out there that gave it a view, that talked about this case. He can't tell you how much that meant to him, and I can't either. So once again, thank you guys so much. Take care, everyone. We'll see you again here on Friday with a brand new episode of Brain Scratch on the Lord and Arch channel.